Some questions will be asked of all of the candidates, and some will be asked of half the candidates. And so when that happens, half will get one question and half will get another. And they will generally be thematically similar, but we're doing it that way just to get a robust conversation going. All right, so just also to know where the questions are coming from, some of our questions were submitted by county caucuses. And so we will let you know who those are coming from when those ones get asked. And then the remainder were written by the Women's Caucus leadership. Just some housekeeping issues. We are live streaming this. Hello to all of our people who might be tuning into our live stream. So please turn off any cell phone notifications and refrain from, you're welcome to clap for an answer if you are so moved, but just try to remain as, remove any unnecessary noise to make sure that we can hear them on the live stream. And the focus of tonight's questions will be on strategy and leadership. So the starting order has been chosen at random, so we're going to begin with Ed for our opening statements. So Ed, you have the floor.
Good evening. My name is Ed Schwartz, and obviously I'm seeking the office of Democratic Party Chair. I believe that Muhammad Ali put it very well for me when he said, service to others is the price we pay for our rent here on earth. I'm running for the chair to help change our party and get more Democrats elected. I bring a set of leadership skills that I've honed in over 25 years in executive level positions, running post-secondary vocational training schools throughout the United States in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, California, and Utah. I've been active in the Democratic Party since 1977, when I had the honor of helping elect Senator Bill Bradley as a professional organizer in New Jersey. I have a vision for the party that includes fundraising, attracting non-affiliated voters into our base, and overall re-messaging so that we can educate the entire electorate in Utah about the truth and the lies that the Republican Party has been putting forth for a very long time. It's time for a change. Chairman Karun has done a wonderful job, big shoes to fill, and I know that I have the skill set, the communication skills, and the energy to help bring the party back to the winning line. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed. Daisy? Yeah, sorry, you might have to use the hand mic.
Is this working now?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Daisy Thomas. I'm also running for chair like everyone else. I'm the only candidate who is in current party leadership. I am the secretary of the Asian Pacific Islander Caucus for both the state and the county. And I also serve as the chair-appointed member for the platform committee. We have a messaging problem. We have a unity problem. I was elected as a national delegate for Bernie Sanders last year as the only one who has remained involved in the party, in the structure, making sure that we are strengthening and utilizing our talents in the best way possible. My background is fundraising. I've been doing fundraising for over 15 years now. I'm on hiatus for my position as Chief of Staff for Senator Jim DeVax's Utah Progressives PAC, which is just candidate development, recruitment, and fundraising. I understand how to fundraise for politics. I understand the structure of this party. I understand the organization of this party. I want to make sure that we are not wasting time, because we don't have any time to waste. We have elections to win, and we need to be starting yesterday. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy. Sarah?
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Scott, and I'm also running for chair. Yay! So I'm the founder of Utah for Bernie Sanders, which went on to be one of the most successful grassroots organizations in the nation. We helped create the infrastructure that brought in the 20,000 new voters last caucus. I was hired on by the national campaign as the outreach director in rural Nevada, and came back to be one of the state directors here in Utah. I've lived in rural Wyoming. I've worked in the mines and industrial plants, and the reality is as Utahns, we need to be able to reach across the aisle, and that's something I can do extremely well. I know it's like to be a progressive in a sea of red. One of the things that we really need to focus as Democrats is getting back to our core values, back to the FDR days, focusing on things that really matter. Jobs, family, and land. So talking about healthcare, talking about education, talking about these issues that really relate to individuals across the aisle. On average, we have one of the lowest voter turnouts in the nation. In 2018, we'll probably have anywhere from 30 to 35% turnout, and among that is young people. On average, we have 8% turnout amongst young people, but the largest voting bloc in the state of Utah are individuals 18 to 35. I've made it a mission to focus on young people. In my past, I founded a group called Our Utah, which brings it incorporates young people and gets them into politics through issues that matter most to them. And currently, one of the things I'm working on is a bill that brings tax incentives to tech companies to go into rural Utah, because as Democrats, if we care about jobs and we care about these industries, it's time that we start being innovative about our solutions and increasing our economy here in Utah. And as chair, that's something that I really want to focus on and simplifying our message. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. Julianne?
Hello, my name is Julianne Waters, and I am also running for chair. I've lived in rural Utah for about 25 years down in Moab. I'm a real estate broker by trade. I'm an activist by passion. Co-founded Peaceful Uprising with Tim DeChristopher many years ago and have maintained activism throughout the years. I feel I'm very qualified for this position for many reasons. My business background, for one, because the Democratic Party is in fact a business. You're dealing with a budget, you're dealing with nonprofit status, etc. I also believe that rebranding is necessary with our party. We've gone astray. Well, I'm not going to say we've gone astray. Let's just say that people think we've gone astray, and it's time for us to stand up and be proud Democrats here in Utah. I don't feel like allowing 22 Republicans to walk into a job last election cycle should never happen again. We had record turnout at our caucuses. I know you all were there. You all experienced it. Those voters are still here in our state, and over 500,000 are unaffiliated. The Democratic Party, as Sarah said, getting back to the FDR roots is what we want to do. We want to become the Big Tent Party. We want to be the neighbor-to-neighbor party. And with that in mind, I plan on, if I'm so fortunate as to be elected, doing deep canvassing. And I'd like to organize in House districts in the rural areas. Some of the House districts down there have six counties for one House district. The state needs to get involved. We need to go down and help these people win elections. Q-Dang is now over the county. I know he's got a firm handle on that, and that's going to free us up as a party to work in rural Utah and bring the Democrats back. So thank you all for coming tonight. That's what it takes, is being active and showing up. Julianne Waters, thank you.
Thank you. Nadia?
I'm Nadia Bowman. I'd like to thank Emily and the Women's Caucus for hosting this town hall, as well as everyone else for showing up. I know there are better things that some of you could be doing, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. I'm running because our party is broken and it needs help, and I'm uniquely qualified to fix some of these issues. We have problems with communication at all levels. We're not communicating with voters on why they should vote Democrat. We're not communicating with potential donors on why donating to the state party is different than donating to a candidate. We're not communicating well with the county parties and explaining and supporting their efforts. We're not communicating with candidates. We're not telling them the amount of work it's going to take to be successful and what the job will entail if they do win. I bring three things to this job. I'm a listener, I'm an advocate, I'm an expert. I am the only candidate that went on the party's statewide listening tour early this year. I heard firsthand the challenges that Utahns north, south, rural, urban were facing. I know their concerns now and how to fix them. I'm an expert. I'm doing my PhD in political science at the University of Utah. My specialty is political persuasion. How do we get people to overcome their biases in order to support something that they should support? Kind of like what we're facing as Democrats. I am an advocate. During the legislative session, I am up as many days as I can. I've built relationships with other advocates, mostly that are paid, and I'm jealous of them for that. And I'm also a lawyer, so I've been trained in effective advocacy methods. All of this results in a different kind of chair. I'm a millennial. I know how to reach my generation and get them to turn out to vote. I am a woman. Women make up a majority of the electorate. And I'm a second-generation Iranian immigrant. I know the challenges and the fear from a Trump administration. Thank you.
Hello, thanks everyone for being here. My name is Leonardo Gutierrez. Everybody calls me Leo. The reason I'm running for this position is to bring diversity to the party. Like I say, I was originally born in Costa Rica, and I came to the US about 15 years ago. And one of the things that I want to encourage is the immigrant community to join, to participate in politics and the community. Many of them feel they're afraid. They feel, especially now with the new government, the new federal government, they're not good enough, and they feel discouraged. They don't wanna. They wanna be. They don't want to participate in anything that relates to politics. So I just want to bring this message to the new immigrants, that not to be afraid. That one of the important things to be successful in this country is, first of all, to learn the language, and then the culture, and to love this country as our own country. We chose to live in this country, so we need to show this love, not by being away from the politics and the community, but participating and joining forces. One of the things I think the immigrants will make this party very strong, because we are many immigrants. People don't see it, but this community is full of immigrants, and this can make this party very, very, very powerful. My name is Leonardo Gutierrez, and I hope that you support me and my efforts. Thank you.
And Rob.
Hi, I'm Rob Miller. Since I was 5 years old, I've had a front row seat in this party. My father worked for Governor Calvin Rampton, and when I was 7 years old, I knocked on my first door for Congressman, well, he wasn't Congressman yet, Wayne Owens. In 2005, I decided that it was right after Scott Matheson Jr. had run for governor. When he came off the stage on election night, we'd been defeated, I took it pretty personally. I went up and apologized to him, and I went home and looked at myself in the mirror, and I realized that I needed to get more involved. Former Governor Calvin Rampton's suggestion, after many conversations, I decided to run for vice chair of the state Democratic Party. That first election, I won by 28 votes. I was then later elected again, both times with Chairman Wayne Holland, who I served with, who, by the way, while he was chair and I was vice chair, we have raised the Republican Party twice. I wish I could take credit for that. It was really Wayne's good work and a lot of support from the staff. I've done a lot in this party. I had the top blog, the Utah Amicus, but it wasn't because of me. It was because I got a lot of people to come together and work together on that blog when blogs were a big deal. I also was a columnist for the Davis County Clipper, so I have some communication background. And I've done a lot of work in communications for the party over the last 13 years. In 2016, even though I voted for Bernie Sanders, well, I'm a Utah Democrat. I'm not a Hillary Democrat. I'm not a Bernie Democrat. I'm a Utah Democrat. I went and worked in Nevada for 2.5 months, and I got to see how technology, targeting homes, houses, households, knocking on doors, really made a difference in winning elections. I want to take that long lifetime experience, that history, that institutional knowledge that I have, bring it to Utah, turn us into a true statewide party, because it's time to win again. My name's Rob Miller. Let's get to work.
All right, thank you, candidates. Now that we've finished our introductions, we will move on to the general questioning. Since we began with Ed, this round will begin with Rob, and we'll just go back down the line. So the first question is from one of our caucuses, and by chance it actually comes from the Women's Caucus. So, while the Democratic Party is doing a better job than the Republicans, women continue to be underrepresented in politics in Utah. How will you work as chair to encourage more women to run for office across the state?
You know, fortunately, in 2008, Chairman Holland made me candidate recruitment chair. One of the things that we absolutely understood is that young people are our future in learning how to work campaigns and move up. Women are our future in winning elections. After the 2008 elections, after we had a record number of people run, in the House and in the Senate, in the state capitol, in our Democratic caucuses, for the first time ever in state history, we had an equal amount of women as men in both the House and Senate caucuses. I've always believed, in fact, in my personal life, in my professional life, I was always very fortunate to understand that as an employer, that, well, I had an office manager and 2 marketing managers when I worked in senior living, that unprecedented for an office manager and marketing managers to move up into it as administrators. But because they worked with me, I worked with them, and I've always believed that we're here to lift each other up. I believe that as we're messaging, especially with women issues, wage disparity, and so many other issues that touch not only just women but working family issues, that the chair is the leader of the party in the sense that, you know, somebody, Peter Kroon today said, we're the face of the party. I don't believe that. I believe that when we talk about women's issues, we will come to the Women's Caucus. We will utilize the women in the Women's Caucus and women leaders and people like Representative Patrice Aaron to talk about those issues. We will put them on TV, we'll put them in those stories, and we will get your message out. I'm the son of a father who was chair of the state party, but it was my mother, Judy Harper, who gave me my democratic character, who taught me the democratic values. I have 2 daughters. I have my lovely Andrea and our little boy here. I've always believed, and I'm very, very happy to not only have the endorsement of great women, but men who support women. And I know that it's better and easier. It's much easier for Utahns to vote for women candidates that are Democrats than it is for men. And I will uphold that. And in fact, if you go and ask Christine Stenquist, she was the only candidate I worked with last year because I was in Nevada. My goal was to help her in every way, not only just emotionally, but I didn't give her a lot of money. I didn't knock on any doors. It was mostly phone calls. But we can give moral support and keep people on track and help people. And as your chair, I once again will go after educators, lawyers, professional, women, and men to run. But I very much understand that there has been an underrepresentation of women in this state and in this country. And as your chair, I will fight for that not to be an issue here in Utah in the Democratic Party.
Thank you, Leonardo. I'll repeat the last part of the question. How will you work as chair to encourage more women to run for office across the state?
Well, I think it's very important, first of all, to understand women. I grew up with 6 sisters. I'm the youngest in my family and the only boy man now. And one important thing is to understand them, how they think and what do they want. And if you know that, like, as a base, then you can encourage and you will be able to try to bring more people to our party. This party, the Democratic Party, has been always the party that support minority groups, in my case, the immigrant community. And that goes well with women, and which is not a minority, but some people think they are. And they are very powerful. So I'm going to encourage that this party bring more women and so that they can participate. But the most important thing, like I said at the beginning, is to understand women, how they are, how they feel about their issues, and go along with that. If you don't understand women, it will be hard just to say, yeah, I'm going to bring women to the party. But that's a very important thing.
Thank you. Nadia?
Women's equality is an issue very near and dear to my heart. It's what drives me professionally as well as in my free time when I advocate. I am proud that the Utah Democrats in the legislature are majority women. That's something that we can pride ourselves on. However, there's still a lot of work to go. Utah continues to rank the lowest and the worst for women in equality, quality of life, representation in business and in politics. We're also lacking in other areas, not just as elected officials, but there aren't enough women in party leadership. There aren't enough women managing campaigns or serving other operative roles. What we have to do is encourage women to run for office. And to do that, oftentimes women don't feel that they're qualified to run for some of these higher level offices, even though all of the data suggests that when women do decide to run for office, their qualifications are higher and they win more often than their men counterparts. The way to combat that is to encourage women to get involved in boards and commissions and special districts and to run for city council, local school board. Those sorts of things we can support women in. They are nonpartisan races, but we know who the Democrats are, and the party should take an active role in supporting those candidates. We also need to create an environment that is women-friendly. I know that as Democrats, we like to think that we're beyond sexism. We're pretty close, but there's still work to do within our own party. So creating a sexual harassment policy for the party and offering that document available to various campaigns would go a long way. When women are elected to office, they push for policy in different ways and in different areas than men. Women are more likely to collaborate and work across the aisle. Women are more likely to push for family and women-focused policies. Women are also more likely to achieve success in the bills that they bring forward. We have a number of great women legislators who do just that and are some of the most powerful voices on the Hill. We also, here's a personal brag, when my ex-husband Kim ran for county council last year, I made sure that the literature said that he would push for paid parental leave at the county offices. That is my personal issue, that's what my dissertation is on, is making sure that we have gender equality in the workplace and at home, and overcoming sort of these attitudinal barriers is going to be important, and I will take that research and use it in my job as chair. Thank you.
Did I ruin this? There we go. I happen to work in an industry that is largely women, the real estate industry, which is interesting. Women make better realtors than men for some reason. That's a personal note. But I feel like one thing that can happen, I attended the Real Women Run last January, and it was very obvious to me that the GOP was all playing on their game, shall we say, because I saw several men in suits walking around and tapping women on the shoulder. And I knew what they were doing. They were calling these women out to run for offices. Well, we're kind of kicking rocks down the road, you might say. So I feel like that is one way to get women to run, is to provide trainings for them and to focus it on the women. And just, I don't have any sort of model in my mind, but it would be easy to, I think, to come up with candidate training specifically for women, because we do face different challenges obviously in the workforce than men do. So in our canvassing, as we're going out and meeting people, I don't know, I don't want to say that I would focus, I won't focus strictly on women. There are many qualified men that are also out there that need to run for office. But I do know that to make it a welcoming atmosphere in the office for women, as Nadia mentioned, and I will say that as a woman in business, I think we need to teach women actually self-esteem, truly, and how to take charge of their life in the business world. I think we've been oppressed long enough, and it's time for us to take charge and take the roles that we need to do. And I agree with starting in the municipal area, but if someone wants to run for a state office chair, go for it.
Thank you, Julianne. Sarah? Hey everyone. So, I mean, some really great responses, and I agree fully with what everyone has been saying. I was raised by a single mother on welfare, and I spent a lot of my childhood just realizing the struggle of women in the workforce and how it relates and trickles down to the family. So there's a lot of hardship. One of the things that I find really, really important is having these spaces, where we mentor one another. I think culturally, especially with women, sometimes we don't work together as much as we should sometimes. I mean, yes, we do as a team. We work together, statistically we work together great. But I really want to focus on, building bridges with the Women's Caucus. I think with the new leadership that's coming, you guys understand social media. You understand the type of messaging we need through that, which reaches the younger generations, but also building that bridge into older generations. It's really important to have these mentorship programs in place from the young to the old, to the experienced to the experienced. I work directly with Ann Mackin, who is the director and founder of Real Women Run, and I'm working at the moment with her organization that she's starting. It's called Springboard, and it focuses on getting women in board positions. Because when you reach that certain level and you want to run for office, right now I'm seeing a lot of great candidates stepping up to run for office, but there's also these positions, these board positions that women should be filling, and we should really be getting in the system. My degree's in finance. I've spent the last decade working with entrepreneurs and in the tech industry, which is a predominantly male industry, and it's been difficult. But I think being from the East Coast, we have a little bit of sass, and so we kind of I was just taught to be confident in the way that we speak and the way that we hold ourselves, and realize that our values. And I think as women in the community, we really need to focus on that. And everything that they've already said, I definitely agree with. So yep, starting from the bottom all the way to the top, we need to build a community.
Thank you. Daisy?
So I'm a member of the Junior League, which is the oldest organization for women in the country. It is an organization that does training specifically on things like lobbying, things like getting out into the community and becoming community leaders. So those kind of trainings I think are extremely important, but to do those trainings we need to make sure that when we have events that they're family friendly, because a lot of women have children, and that is a barrier to entry for any kind of leadership. We are not exactly a kid solo state. There is a lot of children in this state, so there's a lot of mothers in this state, and these mothers have talents that are not being utilized because they don't have and they don't feel like they can bring their children to our events. And yeah, there's some events that they shouldn't be at. But if we're going to hold trainings, we should also see if we can come up with volunteers that can help watch the kids in a separate room so that the moms can get the kind of training that they need, because we have amazing members in our state and county caucuses for the Women's Caucus. And I know that if they had more support, that they would get more involved. We also should have a mentorship program like everyone has mentioned before. We have leaders in this party that have a breadth of knowledge that everyone could use. Every single person in here can teach someone something. When we're utilizing our people at their best, we are going to be our best. I wrote the families plank for the platform, and in it I included universal child care, which I had to fight for, but we were able to get it. It passed committee and it'll go to convention and hopefully get passed there too. Because that is something that's extremely important to the state, of all states. Women are important. We need to support them. And we need to be culling through our caucus because we have amazing members already. That is how we build our women candidates. We have to be supportive. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ed.
Thank you for the question. In selecting candidates to run for office, I don't want to walk through a door with tunnel vision. We're living in a state where the women, 88,000 households, or women are at the head of 88,000 households, and almost 26% of them are living below the poverty line. We're also living in a state where women are making 65% of the women at the low earner wages less than $10.10 an hour. 65% of those jobs are women. This is about communication. This is about articulating women's issues to the public and doing it with passion and education. I want to get the best candidates if I'm elected chair. Women, LGBTQ community, people from all walks of life are welcome in the Democratic Party. I'm not going to sit here with tunnel vision, but I will get out there and advocate with every woman about the issues affecting women in the state of Utah because it's reprehensible. And we need to do something about that to change the tenor as a party, but it starts with the messaging. It starts with the messaging. If we don't get the messaging right and start speaking to the women that you want to run with the issues and the correct numbers and the passion and how you're going to do it, we got to get people with passion to run for office and create a little bit of a stir out there. Women, people of color, people with disabilities, anyone who wants to run for office is welcome to run for office. This is not a selection for me. I would like to see more women run, of course. I want to see more of everybody run. But let me tell you something. If we don't get the communication correct throughout our party, then we're not going to get more women, we're not going to get more solid candidates, and we're going to continue to be at the low end. This is about communication and articulation of the issues for me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, this next question is going to be, we'll start with Ed, and it'll be for Ed through Julianne, and then the second question will be for the last three. So this question, since last year's election, there have been a lot of people who have been mobilized to get involved in activist groups like Utah Indivisible and Utahns Speak Out. As chair, how will you engage these activists and work with them to achieve common goals?
First of all, I'll ask them for $5 a month to the Democratic Party, and then I'll sit down with everybody and go to every one of their meetings to meet with them to say you have a home in the Democratic Party. Because the Democratic Party is the umbrella for every organization out there at this moment in time. And if we can, again, it's back to communication for me. If we cannot communicate effectively to every group that's out there, we have issues. I'll agree to disagree 30% of the time with anybody. We have to train people in conversation training. We can't be emotional about every issue that's out there. We have to speak succinctly with the facts, and we have to bring them into our party line. There are over 540,000 registered non-affiliated voters in the state of Utah. If we do not change the messaging for our party to attract a high percentage of the non-affiliated voters in Utah, we're not going to get to the winning line in our state legislature or in the federal races. I will meet with every group. I will speak with passion about the Democratic Party. I've been a lifelong Democrat. My mother got me involved in the Vietnam War and the anti-war movement. I believe in this party, but we have to do it succinctly with a plan of action. Get everybody at the round table and all the groups, and let's talk about it. We're not going to have agreement on every issue. We can agree to disagree. Thank you.
Thank you. Daisy? Oh, yes, of course. Since last year's election, there have been a lot of people who have been mobilized to get involved in activist groups like Utah Indivisible and Utahns Speak Out. As chair, how will you engage these activists and work with them to achieve common goals?
Well, Well, I think every county actually should be working with these kind of groups, because why should we reinvent the wheel? These people have already done the research, they know what's going on, those issues are important to us, so we need to make sure that we're building a support system that can rely on one another. When we know that we share the same values on these issues, these are our people. They might not be registered Democrats, but they are still people that share what we want for our future, for our community. They understand the issues in that community better than the state party could understand it. So why shouldn't we be building relationships with these activist organizations when and wherever we can? We need to make sure that we are in our communities in every way. This is the only way we are going to win. We are not going to win by sitting in this room. We need to be out there in the community showing people that Democrats exist and that we are here to fight for everyone. So these organizations are fantastic. They are sparking an energy that has been just underneath the surface for years. We can capitalize on this, but we have to make sure that we're not isolating anyone from this party. We need to make sure that we are the Big Tent party. We are going to these events and not just showing up at these events and not doing anything. We need to be there collecting their signatures, their names, everything. There's such a wasted opportunity every time there's a rally and there's not someone from the Democratic Party collecting information so that we can get these people volunteering, knocking doors, making phone calls. This is important. We don't have time to waste. So any organization that shares our values, we absolutely need to develop relationships with now.
Thank you. Sarah? Go ahead.
So when we saw this whole November election go down, I think everyone in this room is pretty pissed off, to be honest. And one of the things that came out of that is I actually helped put together a group. It's called the Changemakers Meeting, and we meet once a month. And there's anywhere from like 40 to 60 individuals that show up, and these are the leaders from these groups like Utah Speak Out, Indivisible. Different grassroots organizations, nonprofits, including like ACLU, Planned Parenthood, and the whole concept is if we want to make a change, we really need to build a coalition amongst one another, not repeat efforts, but work together moving forward. And so if you guys want to come to one of these meetings, you're more than happy to connect with me afterwards. It's at the downtown library in June. And so one of the founders of Utah Speak Out actually is in the audience, Kim. Hey, what's up? And when they first started, I reached out to them because I realized, having founded Utah for Bernie Sanders and worked with Julianne on that, when we did that, we felt like there wasn't a lot of help and support moving forward, and that's something that I really took it to heart. And so when I saw these new groups pop up, I've made a huge effort into reaching out to leaders and working with them. And one of the things with Indivisibles, they started a group called, a statewide group called Knock Every Door, which is a national organization. And I did their first training, which is face-to-face deep canvassing. And that's not talking about political parties, not talking about candidates, but really going door to door in your community and having a face-to-face conversation with your neighbors and asking what issues matter to them. Because the reality is, the issues in Utah are democratic issues. We're voting against our best interests, and it's time that we put a change to that. One of the things I mentioned before that I found is Our Utah, and tomorrow we have a huge concert series. If you guys want to come out to Metro at 7:30, just a little plug. But one of the things that we are doing is every concert series we're partnering with different organizations and having a new issue that we address. And tomorrow is civil rights and police brutality. So we'll be partnering with ACLU, Utahns Against Police Brutality, Surge, Pioneer Justice System, and Voter Eyes, which focuses on voter registration. And then after that, every a week or two after, we'll have specific call to actions that people can really get involved. We're seeing so much hype. We saw 10,000 women and men march up on the Capitol with the Women's March, and I think that is extremely impressive. And then we saw Park City. You're seeing people that want to get involved, and we need to start working with these groups more and filtering them into our volunteer base, because this is the future of the party, and that's our power. So, yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you. And Julianne,
Well, I speak activist, for one thing, having been a long-term activist. In fact, I laugh saying I'm not a public speaker. I've never spoken except through a megaphone heretofore, so I've had to learn how to speak into a microphone. Everything everyone has said is very true and very appropriate. And I just lost my train of thought, so I'll look back in here. The activist network nationwide, okay. One thing that I've found over the years in working with activist organizations is they implode really early on typically because everybody gets really excited, they show up, and then the end. And so more than anything, I think it's necessary that we are out in public and taking the names and getting to know people personally, one-on-one. It's very difficult to build a long-term nonprofit organization. It doesn't happen just, there's a flash in the pan, but to have people that are committed long-term, it takes this concerted effort by a lot of people. The Democratic Party has been short-staffed thus far. However, we have thousands of people who showed up at Caucus last time and thousands of people who said that they would love to work on a campaign or run for office. And I dare say that we reach out to those 10,000 names and get them involved, find out what their passion is, and then rope in all these other organizations' members, because if they need a foundation to stand on. And unfortunately, like I said, I'm afraid the Women's March, it was awesome, it was fantastic, and the energy, I had felt the energy just kind of go away like a balloon. So we have to find a way of retaining the excitement, and we're living in unprecedented times. If we can't stand up and keep people motivated through Donald Trump, I don't know when we ever can. So it will take a major focused effort, but I think if we bring the leaders in, there's some of our candidates that we want to run. They were motivated to start a group, let's get them running for office and train them. Plus everything they said.
Thank you. Now we will have a new question for the final three candidates. Utah has one of the worst voter participation rates in the nation when accounting for the percentage of citizens of voting age who cast a ballot. How will you work to activate voters and get them to the polls for Democrats?
As we saw last spring, it's not enough to get people to come out, register to vote, and vote one time for one candidate. The problem is getting people to continue to show up and vote. It's not enough to just register voters at an event. We have to maintain a relationship with them so that they're inspired and motivated to vote. One of the things that helped with voter turnout was the vote by mail that we saw in most of the counties last year. There was some miscommunication or a lack of information because the program was so new, but if we continue to spread information about how to fill out your mail-in ballot, that it's a real ballot, don't throw it away, drop it off at any polling location, that will go a long way. We also need to be working in communities that traditionally don't turn out to vote at the same rates. That means showing up year-round, not just when it's time to ask for their vote. We need to be working in marginalized communities, supporting their efforts, and getting to know them. We can't just show up in October and say, hey, we're Democrats, we're gonna have your back, because we don't have their back. We're not doing a good job reaching out to these disenfranchised people. We also need to bring in some more diversity into the inside of the party and party leadership and caucuses. We need to strengthen our issue caucuses so that they can be working year-round, getting to know people. I'm on the Stonewall board, and we do 2 service projects a month where we get to know people outside of our political bubble. They get to know Democrats and realize we're good people too. We also need to be organizing our precincts. We've got this great structure in place that gets every household accounted for within a precinct, but there's not a lot of follow through in that process. Representative Elizabeth Waite came up with a really good idea. They're called precinct picnics or precinct parties if the weather is bad, where these are non-political events. You invite everyone in your precinct to a barbecue, to a cocktail hour, to some sort of family-oriented event so that we get to know our neighbors. One of the reasons voter turnout is so low is because people are bowling alone. I don't know if you remember that book that came out, Putnam wrote it. People who are involved in civil organizations, they're more likely to vote. So if we as Democrats reach out to these existing organizations and connect with them and inspire them to vote for Democrats, those are the people most likely to vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Leonardo.
Would you repeat?
Absolutely. Utah has one of the worst voter participation rates in the nation when accounting for the percentage of citizens of voting age who cast a ballot. How will you work to activate voters and get them to the polls for Democrats?
Okay, so this, I believe this participation is very low, not just for everyone. In my case, in my community, working with the immigrant community, because that's what I do. I'm a court interpreter, and I see these people don't really understand the system. Some of them obviously don't know the language. So we need to be more proactive in giving that information to these people in their language. They're citizens now and they can vote, and they feel that, like I said at the beginning of my presentation, they don't belong to this community. For some reason, they still attached to their countries. So we need to present a message, and in my case, I'm talking more about the immigrant community because I'm working with this community, and I represent this community because I'm an immigrant myself. So we need to be more proactive in helping these people and a clear message in their language. And that will be a very big impact to turn out the voting, and so people will vote more. Also, to let them know the Democratic Party is the party that has always been respectful of immigrant rights. And many of them don't know that because they think politics is all the same. And we have to be very clear about our values as a Democratic Party. That is the party that accepts minorities, accept gays, accept women, is the party of everyone. And that message has to be clear, also in their own language as well.
Thank you. And Rob.
When I was in Davis County, I was the Davis County chair. I lived in Davis County for about 15 years. I can't tell you how many times I heard these words. I thought I was the only Democrat in this county. I thought I was the only Democrat in this neighborhood. I'd go walking and go canvassing and go. In fact, when we canvassed for Peter Caroon when he ran for governor, I think it happened 3 or 4 times where, well, you're coming. I thought I was the only Democrat on this block. And I'd say, well, did you happen to know that your next door neighbor is also a Democrat? That this person over here is a Democrat? We have to do a better job of reaching out to people. I like what you said, Leonardo. In the Hispanic community, we have 3,000 new people that could be registered voters every month. 3,000. And there's a lot of other minority communities where we can go after them. But as chair of the State Democratic Party, I'm not going to just sit behind the desk. We're going to have an executive director that can do most of the daily work of the party in there. Because we've got to go out and reach out to, just like we were talking about reaching out to these, to the Utahns Speak Out and the other groups, we have to be an asset to our young people and our old people in all our communities. We need to go out and win their trust. We need to go look them eye to eye and let them know that we believe in them and that we are going to work for them. I happen to know that if you get somebody to vote, especially women, if you can take a new voter and get them to the polls 3 times, it's proven, there's the statistics are out there, that they will vote for the rest of their lives. So it has to do with canvassing, it has to do with not only taking the 10,000 names, but actually giving them a reason to show up. One of the things I want to do as chair is I actually want to start internships all around this state where we get high school credit and maybe college credit for young people, so that they have internships that matter in campaign management, in field work, and in communications. Wouldn't it be great that county parties, that we're actually an asset to them, that they can go and we'll do the research, we'll do press releases for them, and what they can do is show up and have some of that stress taken off them. And it would be our young people doing that work. And when they're involved, and when we give them those opportunities to really learn what politics is about, as again, what my co-candidate said here, is that people don't understand the system. Well, let's get an army of people that understand what we can do. that understand what they can do to make a change in this state. It's time for us to have a statewide party, and really we just need to not only get people's names, but then go knock on their doors, have like you said, neighborhood ledge parties. And we also have to understand one thing. We always see this hierarchy: chair, vice chair, county chairs, ledge chairs. We're all equal in our obligation to each other to go out and do the work.
Thank you. All right, this next question will be for Rob through Julianne. Describe one characteristic of your leadership style that you feel uniquely qualifies you to chair the party. Rob?
Well, I really believe in people, and I have the experience. I mean, my whole life I've been involved in this party, and it's been a characteristic of having empathy and understanding for others. My mother taught me to. It didn't matter if you were, what color you were, what sex you were. Even if you had shortcomings that maybe I didn't like, maybe I had shortcomings you didn't like, that I was to respect people. My grandmother Helen was actually Helen Romney. She was vice chair of the Republican Party, and in a gala many years after she had served as vice chair of the Republican Party, they had a gala in her honor, and she taught me a great lesson. When I asked her, why were there as many Democrats at that gala, Grandma, as there were Republicans? And she said, Robbie, people could come to me with an issue, and they could say, will you help me? And she would say, well, I don't know that I agree with you on that issue, but I respect you. Let's find a way to work together. And I think that's a characteristic that I carried with me, that it doesn't matter if you vote for me or don't vote for me. On June 18th, if I'm elected chair, I'm your chair. I understand that I'm not running for you, that I'm running with you. I understand that I'm there to be, that I am at my best when I lose myself. And caring about the big picture, that's when I find myself. So I think that characteristic is, there's something else. I haven't given up. I didn't walk away. So many people that started back in 2000 or 2005, a lot of them are gone. A lot of you are still here. But I have persisted for one reason. It wasn't because of being excited by a presidential candidate. It was being excited by you. My activism is about Utah. You are Utah. And I love Utah. And because of that, I'm just going to give you all I have. This is, if I get this opportunity to do this job, it'll be the greatest work of my life. But it's not because of just me, it's because of all the people. If you go and look at the people who have endorsed me and are going to help me. As Dick North said, success isn't a goal, it's a journey. Well, I've been on this journey my whole life, and I think I carry that characteristic that I have empathy for the minority voices, for the disenfranchised, and the fact that I just truly love people.
Thank you. Leonardo, please describe one characteristic of your leadership style that you feel uniquely qualifies you to chair the party.
Thank you. When I came to this country, especially when I came to Utah, I felt welcoming. And I felt people were very kind in this state. So that's what I want to show. I want to show that to the people, to say that we're open to everyone. My style will be that. Everybody will be welcome. Doesn't matter how you look like, what language do you speak, who do you decide to love, if you have a disability. It doesn't matter anything of that. It's just the love. And we have to show that. This is the party of love. I always say that to everyone that I talk to, especially in the immigrant community, because they don't know what really is the parties. They think that all the parties are the same. But when we talk about liberal ourselves, the Democratic Party really have a very clear values, and we need, and that will be my style. The style that welcome everyone. It doesn't matter who you are, and that you will make this party more powerful, because you bring your background to our field. Thank you.
Thank you. Nadia?
I think a lot of the party's problem comes down to lack of communication or lack of good communication. So what I bring that's unique is I'm a relationship builder. I bring people together. I get along equally well with all of the different factions within the party. I don't see them as dichotomies or mutually exclusive. I get along with everyone equally well, and I have friends within each different group of the party, and that will go a long way. With county parties, some of them have bad feelings about the state party. They feel like the state party has interfered and messed up their own efforts or isn't providing the support that they need. I'll sit down with all of those county leaders and get to know them and the needs of their community, their party, and their voters. That's what needs to be done to strengthen those relationships. I also have relationships with a lot of the auxiliary groups that fight for the same sorts of things that Democrats are fighting for. I'm a member of the Utah Women's Coalition, which is a coalition made up of advocates from various nonprofits. We meet every week during the legislative session and about once a month the rest of the year. And we communicate and we make sure that efforts are working together, not against each other. We let each other know which bills each group is going to work on and what kind of support the other groups can provide to that group. I already have those relationships, so the party can join those efforts and be a part of that. We're not really doing a good job of working with the ACLU, working with Planned Parenthood. And I'm a teacher. I teach master's level students, and it's a weird thing teaching master's students, especially these are executive master's students, so they all have really a lot of work experience and they're really advanced in their careers. So I'm not above them as their teacher. We're peers and we just have different areas of expertise and we use each other's strengths and skills in order to learn from each other and find ways to make those connections. That's what I would do as chair, is I might know more about some areas than other people, but those people know more about other areas than I do. And we need to communicate on how we can complement each other's efforts. I want to build a party for everyone, to make sure that everyone is heard and everyone feels respected within the party. So I'm going to work to build and maintain those relationships. Thank you.
Thank you. Julianne?
Well, quite honestly, I think one of my better characteristics for this job is my age. I am the senior member, I believe, of this crew. And,
I don't know about that.
yes, and I've still got a lot of life in me. I've raised 5 biological children and threw in 4 stepchildren. With that equals 9. I think that's one of my qualifications, that I could juggle that many. Don't you think so? one of my Peace Up kids, as I refer to them, is in the audience, and I think one of the qualifications I bring is I'm able to listen and unite people, to bring people out to do things that they ordinarily wouldn't think of themselves. How's that? So I think listening, being humble, knowing that you're not the one that knows it all, that you have people around you that can contribute to what you bring to the table is important. Not being, I learned with that many children, the art of negotiation, which is an art, and you need to practice that, and respect for other people's opinions. And I just feel like being a good listener is a good leader. A good leader identifies people in their team and lifts them up, and then steps back and leads from the back of the room. So I think that's my qualification. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The next question will be for the remaining candidates. What, in your opinion, is the primary role of the state party chair, and how will you fill that role should you win? Sarah. Yeah.
So, it's funny, actually, we just had a transition meeting today, so we learned roles of everything, but I already knew what the roles were. So the main role of the party chair is, fundraising and really being the face of the party. What we saw this last election is people are disenfranchised. You saw it with Bernie, you saw it with Trump. They spoke to the individuals who didn't feel like they had a voice in this political world, and we have horrible voter turnout in this state, and it's, we need to be the representation of welcoming everyone in the party, because what we learned is, there's two types of powers in a sense. There's power of money and there's power of people. Well, for the past decade, we've seen a lot of money come through this party, and what have we accomplished with that? And right now we're seeing all this energy. And right now, this is our very key moment that we take this opportunity and with this energy and bring the power of the people and get people boots on the ground and get them involved. Because when they get involved and they feel like they're part of this community, they're going to donate the $5 a month, $10 a month, and they're going to be there day in and day out. And right now, that's what we need to focus on in the state. I have great relationships with a lot of the county party leaders because before I was even running for chair, I worked with a bunch of people across the state. I'm like, hey, you need to run for chair because you understand the message and you understand what needs to happen in order to make and progress our party. And really, we need to have a party leader that's connected on the grassroots level. There's no other candidate sitting here right now that understands grassroots the way that I understand grassroots. There's no other candidate that's more connected to the community across the state than me. And that's, as a party leader, is what I'm going to be doing.
Thank you. Daisy?
So 90% of the chair's job is fundraising. Fundraising is a super important deal. It's not fun, it's not sexy, it's really hard, but it's something that I've been doing for 15 years. I've done it on every level from Cub Scouts and soccer to Junior League and running one of the largest Democratic PACs in this state. I understand how to develop donor relationships, which are hugely important. Because as much as we want to get the $5 donations from everyone in the party, we don't have that yet. Bills still need to be paid. The chair doesn't get a salary unless the chair can fundraise it. We have operational expenses of $38,000 a month, bare minimum for staff of 3 for the entire state. That's unacceptable. We need more staff if we are actually going to develop the county parties, the state party, the way we need to. So I'm sorry, but we need to have a chair that knows how to fundraise the most effective way possible, that has the donor development relationships already in place, that knows how to pick up that phone call day in and day out and say, hey, you know what, we have this presentation, we need money for this candidate, we need money for this training, we need money for bills. I mean, we are not going to win if we don't have a way to fund the things that we want to do. Fundraising it can be soul draining, but it's also really fun for me. I like picking up that phone call, picking up the phone and saying, hey, you know what, let's meet. I need to show you something. I want to give you a presentation. I want to show you why you need to invest into this party. But yeah, we would love to get to the point where we don't have to do that, where everyone is chipping in, because until we have a social buy-in, people aren't going to feel connected to this party. We need to all be putting in just a little bit, even if we can't think that we can. Some of us can, even if it's just $3 a month, that's more than some people can do. So if you can donate, donate. And you can donate to your county party and the state party. But donor development is extremely important, and that is the main reason why I think that I should be chair.
Thank you, Daisy. Ed?
Thank you. Everyone has said it, fundraising is our key priority. And none of us sitting here have the opportunity that Chairman Caroon, Peter Caroon, has when he picks up the phone and calls someone and asks for money. They know who he is, and they're going to be much more responsive. Our job at this point is to build a relationship with every key donor and person out in Utah. I understand what that means, to do a presentation in front of a board about the Democratic Party, to get a meeting about the Democratic Party and ask for money. People want to give to our party. We are the party of the issues. We are the party of choice. But it's going to be a lot of hard work to raise that money. And we need to have the large donor pool as a key priority of the chair position. And as stated, it will probably take 80 to 90% of the new chair's priority to speak about fundraising as we're getting out there. And to assist with the fundraising, we need to educate and communicate to every voter in the state of Utah. When the federal government under Trump comes out with another proposal or piece of legislation that's contrary to American and Utah values, or our Republican-led legislature here does the same, it's incumbent that the party is on every piece of social media, including YouTube, with a representative of the executive committee or an elected official or another representative to educate the public. Fundraising is part of education, and we have to educate the public in order to get them to donate money into our coffers. And I think if we do that correctly, we can raise 1%, we can get 1% of the non-affiliated voters to donate $5 a month, and we have to push for a minimum of 7% of every Democrat to donate $5 a month into our party coffers. But if elected, I will be working to raise large donations on a continuous basis every day. It'll be a priority for me if I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, up next we're going to have a couple of questions from our issue caucuses. So this next question will be for candidates Ed through Sarah. First one comes from our Salt Lake County Disability Caucus. What will you do as chair to ensure that all official state party events are accessible to individuals with disabilities? Go ahead, Ed.
I'll just be a very strong advocate, and I will work with the Disability Caucus. It's very dear to my heart. I work for an organization called USARA. It's a non-for-profit in Salt Lake City, Utah Sport Advocates for Recovery Awareness. I'm a peer recovery coach and a program manager. I have the opportunity to work with recently released incarcerated prisoners and those individuals that are coming out of long and short-term drug and alcohol treatment every day. Some of them have huge disabilities, and I'm an advocate for them. I will make certain that if there's any venue that is going to carry the name of the Democratic Party, there will be accessibility for anyone with a disability who wishes to attend that particular function. And I will honor that, because I'll be an advocate. We cannot have people within our party or people within our state not being able to attend functions because a venue might not be in compliance. And if it's a compliance issue, you can bet I will advocate and work with legislators and with anyone else who can make certain that that venue gets their place in accordance with the law. You know, as Democrats, people with disabilities have a very big piece of my heart. It's very emotional for me. And I will guarantee that I will advocate continuously if there is a venue that we have a function at or we are a part of that's not accessible for anyone with a disability. It's not right in 2017 that we should be even speaking about this, but we are, and we have to ensure that we are the advocates for those that cannot advocate for themselves.
Thank you. Daisy?
There's not much to follow up. I think Ed did a really good job of answering that. But I also think that we should be reaching out to the Disability Caucus leadership, because they already have a checklist of things that they're looking for every time that we have a Democratic Party event. And I know Jennifer Miller-Smith has been on top of the party for the past few months, making sure that everything is ADA accessible, and not just to include external issues, but also that a lot of disabilities are invisible, and that's something that as a party we need to recognize and we need to advocate for. So I think that, along with what Ed said, just making sure that our Disability Caucus feels like they're supported, and Erin Michael Finney sitting up in the back and I are helping the Disability Caucus with their platform plank for the disability section. It is really important to make sure that everyone in our community, no matter what they may or may not suffer from, what they may or may not be dealing with, has a place in this party. So there's not much more we can say about this. We just need to make sure that everyone feels extremely supported. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sarah?
There's definitely everything that they just said, working with the caucus, making sure it's ADA accessible, extremely important. I personally spent over 2.5 years, 3 years of my life on crutches because I've had 7 major surgeries. And, one of the things that I think we can really learn from the Disability Caucus is the ability to use that and relate to other groups. For instance, when we talk about white privilege, there's also able-bodied privilege. And this is something that people can really understand. Can you physically walk down the street? Yes, if you say yes, you have able-bodied privilege. There's these things, and that's something that we can translate into gender equality, understanding men's privilege, white privilege. And I think that there is a fundamental aspect to the Disability Caucus that we can relate across our caucuses. And 1 in 5 have a disability. And, I think what we're seeing really with young people too, and is we're being more open about our disabilities. And I think as a community, being advocates for this across the state, especially with the healthcare and the issues and attacks on the ADA community, this is going to be a crucial part of our plan moving forward. The Disability Caucus is going to be key in addressing this up on the Hill, talking to legislators, because I see 2018 being a mecca for healthcare issues more so than before, and it's really important that we work with them. So also ADA, everything. Just adding on to that. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. All right, the next question will be for Julianne through Rob. And this comes from our Young Dems of Salt Lake County. There have been a lot of younger people who have never cared about politics at all who were suddenly energized last year, mostly by Bernie Sanders' campaign. As chair, how will you bring these people fully into the fold and stop them from dipping away back into disillusionment?
That is such an excellent question, and it's being asked by everyone. I'm sure I stated that there were people 10,000 people who came out who marked on their ballot. I worked in the Dem office for a couple of months. I volunteered after caucus, and I worked with all of the ballots, which there were a lot of, 80,000-ish, and approximately 1/8 marked the boxes saying they would either work on a campaign or they would run for office. So that was about 10,000 people. I've come to know, I've accused the staff of not doing anything with those names, but I have come to know that they did attempt to contact these people. I think that it was probably misled contact, just because a lot of those people were Bernie Sanders supporters, and to have someone call them from the Democratic Party right after the primary probably wasn't the best tact. So I would like to, and I'm sure a large percentage of those voters were also millennials. And not registered Democrats, I might add. I would like to contact these people. I've actually started a process of contacting them, not to vote for me, but to actually come back to the party. I believe that we need outreach, serious outreach to every college and university in this state. That could be easily accomplished. I would like to also add, I'm not afraid of the fundraising effort that this is going to take. I know that right now we're in the throes of no money. I'm used to that, being a mother. So I know that we can turn this around financially fairly quickly. It doesn't have to be as daunting as it sounds. And one place that I'd like to see money go, if we have to pay for it, would be outreach, millennial outreach to all the colleges and universities. I know that we can get free interns and volunteers from the Hinckley Institute, so I would look into doing that. Millennials like to listen to millennials, and so basically that would be my number one approach, is just reaching out through a millennial outreach coordinator and make it very serious.
Thank you. Nadia? Nadia?
Millennials do like to listen to millennials, and I'm a millennial, so I know how to get them to listen to me. Thanks for that excellent lead-in, Julie. We do need to keep them involved. They probably weren't involved before Bernie Sanders, and so it's not really keeping them involved, it's getting them involved for the first time. A lot of young people, they really care about policies. They want, a minimum wage that's actually a living wage. They want clean air to breathe. They want, health care that's affordable. They don't want to be swaddled in student loan debt. But they're not connecting that policy change comes through politics, and they have to play the political game, whether they like it or not. That's the way to create political or policy change. So when Bernie Sanders was here most recently, I decided to campaign the line, not for myself, but for the state Democratic Party. I had on the back of my clipboard a little infographic that I designed, and I had some key issues that Bernie brought up. Same-day voter registration. That was thanks to Rebecca Chavez-Hauk. Representative Hemingway, he brings forward a living wage bill. Joel Briscoe and Patrice Aaron, they really care about the environment. We have local elected politicians who are fighting for these things that a lot of young people care about. They just weren't aware. So when I made these connections for them, I had 4 pages of people who signed up to volunteer for the party. They just didn't know because no one made the effort to tell them. I did this by myself. Imagine if the party had put together a list of 10 to 15 volunteers to do the same kind of work, not only when Bernie came to visit, but at a lot of these political events. We could talk to everyone there and get them involved and make those connections for them. We need to be at these community events, collecting names and information, getting people registered to vote, helping them navigate the political system. It can be pretty intimidating if you're new to this. I want to have a Start Here button on the website that explains the key terms, provides contact information, and just helps people that are new to the process kind of figure out what it means to be a Democrat in Utah. We also have to have events that cater to young people. I know we've got the Young Dems that have events at bars. There are young Dems who are under 21 who can't go to these events. And that's one of the things the new county vice chair has brought up because he's under 21. We need to have fundraising events that are low dollar because if you're a young person, your disposable income is not as high and they need to feel welcome and respected. Thank you.
Thank you. Leonardo?
Okay. Young people, when I was growing up, it's a different time now, and the young people, they tend to think differently, especially in politics. We need to pay attention to what they're saying, and with an open mind. That's why I feel that we also, and especially, like I say, working with the community that I work, the immigrants, they feel there. Right now, they're very upset because of the way the federal government is running, the government in general, and all the programs. So we need to listen to these people, listen what they're saying, and try to bring them to the party with their ideas, with an open mind, not to criticize them or to say, well, that's not a good opinion or something like that, but just to be open to their ideas. They are the future of their country, and we also need to give them that opportunity to participate in politics and just to make this party stronger.
Thank you. And Rob?
In Davis County, in Bountiful, there's a young man named Camden Brown. He's 17, well, maybe he's 18 years old, 17 or 18 years old. He's going to be a senior next year at Bountiful High School. He went to his counselor and he asked if he could do an internship, a political internship, and they offer him school credit for that. And he was offered, the counselor said, well, Camden, you can go follow Senator Todd Weiler up on Capitol Hill. And Camden looked at his counselor and said, but I'm not a Republican. Camden will now, next year, be working with the Davis County Party, getting high school credit for the work that he's going to be doing. I want to replicate that all over the state, not just in high schools, but in universities. We have Leah Murray up at Weber State. We used to have Richard Davis up at BYU, but we're going to find a new friend. We have Dick Norris, who's going to help us down in southern Utah. Because these are the opportunities that young people want. Some people are good at communications. Some people want to be good at campaign management. Some people want to know how to do field work. I know Ken Pedersen, he's got a lot of talents, but he's told me he's a behind-the-scenes kind of person. Well, I know a lot of young people that are like that. And I will say this, millennials like to listen to millennials, but millennials also like to have conversations with people who believe in them, and people who want to mentor them, and people who aren't scared to tell them that this works and that doesn't work, and that is willing to work with them. I've found that all over the state, there are young people who really do want to be involved. They just don't know what the step is. And as chair, I'm going to try to bring those opportunities so that we can not only build an army for 2018, but so that these people will be involved for the rest of their lives, no matter what state, where they go in the United States or anywhere else, where they will fight for the values that we care about. As chair, I have the experience of putting young people into action. We've done it before. I've been involved with so many young Democrats over the years, and a lot of them are now are successful working for county mayors, for other people, and even in Washington, D.C. So I think the biggest asset that I can have in helping with young people is that listening to them, listening to what their skills are, and then finding them a place to get that work done, to get that experience.
Thank you. All right, I believe we have time for one more round of questions. So this will be the final questions before closing remarks. So this first one will be for Rob through Nadia. A special election is now scheduled to fill the congressional seat in the 3rd District. If you are elected with only a few months until the November election, what will you do on day one to impact this campaign? Rob?
On day one, have we decided, are we going to be having that nominating for our candidate? Will we know who that candidate is on the 17th of June? So on day one, we start putting together young people, volunteers, middle-aged people, old people, anybody who wants to go and make a difference in this 3rd district. We're going to put canvassing groups together. We're going to help that candidate any way we can. This is such an important event. And if you look at the past history of this district, we've had very little money spent in it, and we've had very little messaging. It is time for us to go grow through that Utah County area, everywhere where the 3rd district is. And I think we've got a couple of candidates that look that are very exciting for this. There's one that has quite a bit of money. But more importantly than money, let's go find our people. Let's go knock on their doors. And let's use this experience right now so that we'll be ready for 2018, just like we should be working in many of the municipal races around, training people how to canvass, training people how to use the technology. Win or lose, we're going to win through this next election, through this special election, because it's an exciting time. And quite frankly, the candidates that are coming up in the Republican Party do not represent the majority of the people in their constituency. They do not. 2 of them are just Jason Chaffetz's wannabes, but with high heels. And the fact is that we need a Democratic woman to be leading that charge, and we need to help that Democratic candidate whoever she may be. And if it happens to be a man, we'll help him too. But we need to go walk, knock on those doors, and then get our people out to vote. And if we do that, we're going to have great success, and we're going to be even more ready for 2018.
Thank you, Rob. Leonardo?
If I get elected, day one, my idea is fundraising. We need money, and that's one of the important things for a party. That's number one. And the second is the message that I brought me here, which is the message for the immigrant community. I want them to be part of this. I want them not to be scared. Right now, they feel they're not good enough. Many of them are running up north to Canada. They don't want to live here anymore because of what President Trump said about them, and that's not fair. We need to bring all these people together. And like I said, it doesn't matter who you are, how you look like, what language do you speak. We need these people. This will make this party very strong. The message has to be very clear. You're welcome here. It doesn't matter who you are, you're welcome. And we as a party, we will fight for your rights. You will not be discriminated like in Arizona, where you will be stopped just because you're driving a car, and you will be stopped because of the way you look like. And that goes especially for the Latino community. If you look Latino, you get stopped. That is against our values. It's against our Constitution. And we need to be clear on that we will fight for your rights. And you are equal to anyone in this country because that's what the Constitution says.
Thank you. And Nadia?
CD3 is a hard district. When the Republicans drew it, they drew it specifically so that it would remain in Republican control. That was several years ago, though, and things have changed. We have Donald Trump and the president. He has a really, of all the states that he won Utah by the least amount. He only had a plurality, not a majority. And Jason Chaffetz has done some questionable things that I think are angering a lot of his constituents. So I think that it's a place that we can do a lot of work, but we're going to have to bring in people from throughout the state, not just those in CD3. And because this will be a special election, that frees up a lot more resources than we wouldn't otherwise have. At the state convention, we will also be having a nomination of the candidate, and so we need to figure out whoever wins, where they're at in the campaign process. What sort of infrastructure have they put into their campaign? Are they adequately staffed? Do they have a plan for fundraising? Where are they needing help? How can the party support those efforts? We should maybe start doing focus group testing. That's one of the big things that I want to do to improve our message. We need to figure out why Utahns are saying they want things like higher taxes for education and Medicaid expansion, but not voting for Democrats. We need to figure out where that message is getting lost in CD3 more immediately than some of the other areas. We have a lot to work to do, and the cards are not in our favor, but with a lot of effort, with everyone working together, the party focusing on that race, since it's the only one we'll have that's partisan this year, we can make a difference, and that will also pave the way for the 2018 general election for that race. Thank you.
All right, the final question will be for Julianne through Ed. A new centrist party, United Utah, formed earlier this week seeking to attract, quote, disaffected Democrats, and has already drawn many Democrats who ran at convention last year. Does this new party affect your strategy for the Utah Democratic State Party in any way? And if so, how?
Actually, no, it doesn't affect my strategy at all. One thing I took issue with in their article was they said that the reason that they formed this party was that the Republican Party and the Democrat Party were too extreme. I disagree completely. The Republican Party, okay, but the Democratic Party, in my opinion, I feel like we have veered away from the message that we have been known to support for years. And Quite honestly, full disclosure, I would like to be more extreme. I think far too long we've been standing up as milquetoast Republican light, and we have got work to do as Democrats. And so yes, they have attracted people that we all knew were already Republican lights, and that's why they were not elected last year. So that's how I feel. So yeah, my strategy remains the same. I say bully for them, go for it, and we'll go for it over on our side.
Thank you.
Sarah? I wish I could take something away from Bob Cook and get a blimp for this upcoming state convention, which some of you might remember from last year. And he also had amazing cinnamon rolls. If anyone remembers. But you know what? People are disenfranchised. That's why this party was started. They're angry. They don't feel like they're being represented. But look at the age of these individuals who started this party. I'm sorry, but these people have been in politics for how long, and they haven't made like a change. And I worked with some of them previously to do voter outreach, and it was their way or the highway. And I think you need a party that's inclusive. When you build these bridges, when you don't build these bridges, when you tear them down and you start alienating a lot of people. And as Democrats, we used to control this state in the 70s. The House and the Senate was Democrats. The state of Utah was a Democratic state. We had fair representation. And in the 70s, we had the top 3 voter turnout in the country. Now we have the lowest voter turnout in the country and one of the most polarized political parties in the country. And for me, there's a lot of opportunity. And so, what did we see in the 60s and the 70s? Is we saw these core issues that were being represented. We saw unions backing Democrats. We saw unions being a huge part of the democratic process. And we need to get back to the working class issues. We need to start talking about jobs. If we give you a job, that is the single most beneficial thing that can happen to any family, because a job affects you on a daily basis. It affects your health care. It affects your community, where you live. It affects so much. It affects your education in the state of Utah. We need to start talking about land rights. Let's talk to hunters. Let's talk to fishermen, because we all care about our outdoor industry. And let's talk about, people and healthcare and education. We have one of the lowest funded education system, and with Betsy DeVos at the moment, she has not helping the situation at all. And what we've seen from Knock Every Door, which is this group that's been canvassing door to door, is people are pissed off right now. Republicans are pissed off, and they want to look at a party that can represent them and represents their family values, and will take care of them moving forward. And it's time that we rebrand and remessage to get back to that root. So that's
Thank you. Daisy?
So I don't think I would change my plans whatsoever for this party. The Utah United, is that what it's called?
Unite Utah, or
United.
United Utah.
United, yeah. Okay, so no, I think that we have our mission, our values. The whole point of the platform was to have a consensus on the values of this party, and that's what we were going to be voting on. And I helped write many of the planks. I wrote the families plank. I wrote the skeleton for the economic and the education planks. These are issues that go beyond partisan politics. Everyone deserves to have health care. Everyone deserves to have a quality education. Everyone deserves to be heard. So, I may not agree with Professor Davis, but his voice is still valuable. We don't have to listen to it, but we need to understand that there are people in the state that are not going to agree with us on certain issues, and that's fine. We have to acknowledge that they're wrong on some of those issues, but we can't disenfranchise our people to satisfy a small group. We believe every single person is equal. That means that we believe in LGBT rights. They don't. That's one of their main platforms, is they are against that. That's not who we are as a party. So no, my tactics would not change, my plans don't change. Good for them. I'm happy that they have their group, but to me, it's not who we are, and it's not something I'm even concerned about.
Thank you. And Ed.
It would not change any of the way I manage if elected chair, but what it has done for us, it exemplifies the split that is existing within our party, which goes back to the messaging. People are leaving the party, centrist, left, right, whatever. I'm a progressive, I'm from New Jersey, and I live in Utah. Okay? The reality of the situation is that as Democrats, we continue to say that we're going to be the open tent party, but yet we're disenfranchising certain people within the party. We can agree to disagree. If they don't want to join us, it's how we speak to it. But we have to change the way we're conducting our business as leaders. We need to convey a big tent. I managed Stephen Tryon's congressional campaign in the 3rd Congressional District this past year. I'm the only person at this dais calling for opening up a small regional office in Utah County. I want to take the fight to the streets. I want to get the message right for Utah County. We have to understand who we're dealing with, what the population is, the demographic. We can win, we can get there, but we're not going to get there if we continue this internal divide that exists. There's nothing wrong with moving a little bit both ways. That's what I learned in business over the years as president, as CEO of organizations, that if you do not move the needle one way or another and listen to people at the table, you're just going to have havoc. And all this represents to me is that we are divided as a party. We need to have a leader who's bold enough to stand up and say, let's get educated on the issues, but you're welcome inside of our tent. I do not have an issue with that. I do not have an issue messaging correctly to Utah County. I do not have an issue messaging correctly to rural Utah. We have the youngest demographic in the United States, and we must leverage that demographic. And as a leader, I will articulate this on an ongoing basis from the day I take office. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the time has come for closing statements. Each candidate will have 1 minute for their final statement. We will begin with Rob.
We did it before, we can do it again. I've had a long time growing up in this party, seeing the history, seeing what's worked, what hasn't worked. As I said, Dick Norris, my good friend, said success isn't a goal, it's a journey. Well, I've been there, and I'm ready to move us, take that knowledge from the past and move us into the future. I want to also say something. I want to thank every single one of you candidates. Every one of you during this campaign has taught me something, has moved into my heart, and I'll tell you this, if I'm elected chair, that's the team I'm going to work with. I'm Rob Miller. Please go to robtoutah.com. Go see why so many county chairs, past county chairs, and people who have been involved in this party have endorsed my candidacy. It's because they know that I'm running for you, I'm with you, and I'm with all of them. Thank you.
Thank you. Leonardo?
I came to this country, and one of the first things that I did was to learn the culture and the language. And I have many role models, many people that I learned from the community, not just the immigrant community, all the communities here. And I want to give these tools that I learned from these people to the immigrant community who are disconnected. I feel they're disconnected we need to bring them back. And how we do that? By presenting to them a message that is clear, a message that you have to learn the language, that you have to be involved in this. If you want to change, you have to be involved. And not to be afraid, and this is the party that welcomes everyone.
Thank you. Nadia?
Oh man, there were so many things I wanted to add on and so many of the other questions that the other half was asked that I wanted to answer. So I'm going to suggest you go to my website, electbowman.com. I've got a really detailed plan. It's a 3-point plan for party building. We all agree on what needs to be done, but I lay out pretty extensively how these tasks will be accomplished. You can also check out my endorsers. These are people that you know, that have been on the ground working with you and me the last several cycles, and they know that I am the one that can bring this party forward. I'm endorsed by city council members, party leaders, caucus leaders, candidates, the 2 most recently elected legislators that we got picked up in 2016. Republicans want to build a wall. I'm going to build a bigger table so that the Utah Democratic Party really is a party for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Julianne?
Well, first of all, I want to say hi to Duchesne. This is the county convention that we missed tonight, so everybody say hi. Sorry we weren't there. We missed you. Secondly, I feel like I know I have deep roots here in Utah. In fact, I believe Rob and I are the only actual people from Utah. The rest of the candidates are move-ins, which is great. I'm glad that they have passion about Utah and want to get involved. Move-ins, that was rude, wasn't it? Anyway.
I like it better here.
Right.
We had no choice, Julianne, they did.
Yeah, that's a good point, good point. I feel like I am totally ready to take on this job. In fact, I wish the election was 2 months ago. I was asked to run by a group of progressives. It was not on my career list of things to do, but I do know that I'm ready and willing to get to work. And again, like Nadia, my strategies are all spelled out on electwaters.org. I'm open to suggestion, ideas. I thrive on consensus. So we're having a meet and greet tomorrow night, and I have to shut up. So thank you, Julianne Waters.
Thank you. Sarah?
Hi, my name is Sarah Scott, and I'm one of the youngest individuals running in the nation for this position. And also, what you've learned tonight is I'm qualified. I'm the most connected to the community on the grassroots level, and I've proved experience that before November and post-November, I'm actually getting things done. I'm actually doing things instead of, it's not just an idea, I'm implementing that. And there's no other candidate that's doing that at the moment. I can reach Republicans in a way that a lot of people can't. There's no other person that could sit at a table and be like, I've worked in the mines, I've worked in these industrial jobs, I can relate to you. Oh, you want to talk about unions? Well, the unions are the future. Oh, you want to talk about young people? Let's get them involved. You know what? Let's work across the board. I have a background in finance. I spent a decade working with entrepreneurs. We need someone that understands branding and marketing. We need someone that can relate to all individuals, and that is me, and that's why I'm running for chair. VoteSarahScott.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Daisy?
So I care about this party. I am one of these move-ins. I moved here 2 years ago, and we had no friends or family. This party has become our community. This is where we spend our free time. This is where we raise our children. This party means everything to us because this is our community. There is more important things going on in the world than, being able to spend our time at the movies or having fun. We dedicate our lives to this party because it's important. It matters because our future matters. Our current matters. We are facing a fearful time in this world, and maybe not for everyone. Maybe some people don't realize how horrible the world is right now. But for many people, their lives are at risk. That is why I'm running. I understand how to fundraise. As we know, that's the most important thing, but you can check out my website at daisyforutah.com.
Thank you. And we'll finish up with Ed.
I understand the challenge that our party and state is facing today. It's a very tough challenge which requires tested leadership from all fronts. I've been tested in the business community in high-level executive positions throughout the United States. I've been tested on the political front managing campaigns and running for office twice. I have the art of communication and also humor. I can make people laugh, and that's what we need to be able to do to get people into this party. We got to put smiles on people's faces again. And we've got to be able to do it in a manner that they understand that the Democrats stand for the social issues. We own the issues. We need to articulate them correctly, and I have the plan to do it. ElectEdSchwartz.com. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well that's it for our candidate town hall. I want to thank all of them for being here and being so great about staying inside the time limit. You guys were amazing. I'd also like to recognize my timekeepers, Kat and Jenny. Thank you so much for volunteering tonight. And thank you to all of you who attended or who are watching online or who will be watching in the next few weeks. This is a really important conversation within our party, and I'm really happy we were able to facilitate it. There will be another town hall sort of event a week from today that is hosted by the state party and I believe Utahns acting together. So if you are watching online or you're here and you want to attend another one, I'm sure they're going to be covering some different topics. So thank you so much and have a great night.